this a power only cable, maybe? Yeah, typical. This one. Hey guys, welcome in. Wasn't expecting to come on today, but I've finished some work sooner than I thought. So we're just going to do the clean light RGB again because I kind of sucked at doing the last one. So I've got two of these to build. There's a have I got a bad clean light here? There's two consoles, basically two Prestiges that are having the clean light on. But I can't seem to get this one working. Or this one booting. I don't know, I'm having bad luck here grabbing charge-only cables. Let's use the cable I know works. Hey, welcome everybody on YouTube. Quite a few people jumping in. There we go. So yeah, I've just got a bunch of charge-only USB cables. I'm just going to program this one because they're not programmed yet. GitHub, GBA, clean light. Releases there. There we go. So that's now programmed. And the last time I did this, I made a mess of it basically. It took me forever to install. So I kind of want to do, I need to remember to do. I've got two of them installed. So I'm going to install the first one as is. And then after that, the second one I'm doing, I'll make an install guide while we're doing it. So I'll stop and take photos and write the official install guide basically. So what we're doing is installing these little LEDs. This is a Game Boy Advanced. This is just one of the customers has sent just the circuit board in and not the whole console. And the other one, this is going to be a Prestige. The other one is just a circuit board. So basically place these over the buttons like this. So it replaces the button pads with brand new ones and it puts LEDs in so we can have color changing LEDs that'll light up the Game Boy. So we'll see this lit up when we're done. But I just want to redo the install because the first time I did this, I've only installed two since I've made it. They've only just come out, and like I say, it went a bit wrong. Let's say it took me a while to install and figure out and get working well. So second time, this should hopefully work well. All we should have to do, this is where it should be simple, is place this on here, solder the blobs. Where they go. That should be it. It should be that simple. But like I say, I made it, well, not quite that simple because the first version, we need to also tack on this little power board and add 3 wires. But in future, that won't be needed. But for the first release, we have to do this little power mod as well. So that's the only thing. So let's see if I can make it look a bit easier this time. So starting off, we need a little bit of tape to cover the 5 volt, this VDD 5 volt. So originally, when I designed this, we were going to tap off this VDD 5 volt. So when we hover this over, you'll kind of see the 5 volt lines up, and that's what powers the clean light. But once we started putting these in maxed out consoles, we realized this regulator couldn't actually handle all of it, all the demand. So we made a little baby regulator that provides fresh 5 volts in, basically. So for this version, we have to stick this little regulator here and bypass this 5 volts. Other than that, then we just solder all these pins in. So let's start with the not so standard part, which is getting this regulator on, I guess. So before we forget, we'll start with the 5 volt there. because you don't want the you don't want to load down the Game Boy's 5 volts itself. So the kit comes with the wire all pre-stripped and ready. It doesn't come with a bit of tape though. It's just a bit too awkward to try and include a tiny piece of tape. So any tape will do. You just want a little piece to cover that VDD 5 volt by the resistor there. So you just want to cover that one up like so, and you don't want to go too high because you need to solder to a few pads, so you just don't want to go past. If we line that up, you don't want to cover these 3 here, so basically you don't want it to go up and cover these 3 pins, so just keep it nice and tight on there basically. And then for this, we're just going to stick it down. It's got some double-sided tape on the back. So then on the back, it's got this little glue. It's see-through, so you can't really see, but that's now got a little bit of adhesive on. If we flip this board over, stick him to the corner of the CPU, like that. And now all we do is we have a ground you can pick up from anywhere. So we'll find a ground pad. There's one right here where the clean light solders to. So I'll typically go with the ground to here. The in wants to come straight from this transformer down here, or we can go to the center 2 pins of the power switch, or you could go to this cap here. You can go to any of them places. Because really you've got to go from here through past here where 2 rubbers are, you want to run the wire through here and down into this pad. So I think this is the safest place or the simplest place, because either way you've got to either run past here, or I think on the last one, we basically sent the wire down through this little hook here and over, just so that in a clear shell you don't see the wire running down here. So I guess for the official guide, we might as well do it out of the way, so it's not visible in clear shells. So we turn the iron on. Switch, no, it's a Game Boy Advance. Just pre-tin them pads. And we'll start with this ground then. So the wire that comes in the kit's long enough and already pre-stripped. I would cut this down though slightly. It's like twice as long as it needs to be. So let's just cut that down to just be a little stump like that. Now we can blob the black on ground. The color coded, so you don't have to use the same colors, but obviously that's the point of the color coding. The ground we want to go to, you can either go straight to this ground here, or if you go to, I think this might be ground, pretty sure that is, you don't want to bridge on the CPU leg, so depends on your confidence level. If you want to blob there, I'm probably going to say go out the way down here. And then when this goes on, you'll see this solders over this ground pad here as well. So we can go to this pad, and we'll probably leave that one loose until we put the clean light on. So what we'll probably do is get it to length here, cut it, but then don't actually solder it on until the clean light goes down, because we want to solder. That'll just have to come back off and then back on again. So we'll just re-strip that wire now we've cut it. This board is a Game Boy Advanced, so one of the old Game Boy consoles. We're just fitting lights to it. I'll grab one in a sec. Should have got mine here, shouldn't I? With the lights in order. Oh, that's not going to work either. No worky. Batteries. This just needs batteries in it. That one. I'll just put batteries in this one. So basically, Game Boy Advanced. Obviously, this is a custom printed one we did. Let me just chuck some batteries in because I've been robbing them for other things. So you've got the Game Boy Advance, and then what we're going to do is light up these buttons. So D-pad, start, select, A, B, triggers at the top. This is the internal motherboard for it. And obviously this product that we've made called the Clean Light, this will sit over them buttons and light them all up. So when we've done this, you'll see all of the buttons lighting up. We've got to do 2 of them, so you'll see this when we're done. Yeah, the button pads on the LEDs really help, because a lot of the problem when we've done the Clean Lights in the past and everybody else is when you install the LEDs and you put holes here, this little board, even though it's not that thick, ends up being over the top of the rubbers that press down. So like, this isn't a Game Boy one, but like these rubbers say, and when you're pressing down, the carbon in the center tends to touch this flex board and doesn't press the buttons as well. So it makes, basically it made the responsiveness of the buttons worse when you put LEDs in, and that's the same for everybody's LED kits. We're the first ones now to integrate the button pads into the LEDs, so they actually enhance the button press because they're brand new. So these are much more fresh gold than the old ones. So this actually, and you can see I've kept the same shape because that's important for, this little shape here is important for when you're rolling to get your diagonals. So I've mimicked the exact same shape on here and just made them closer so it's actually better. So your D-pad will be more responsive on diagonals. But yeah, that's, you can technically fit a Clean Light, turn the lights off, and this can just restore all the button pads underneath. So if you have damaged button pads, these tap off the test points, so you can restore broken pads this way as well. So we've got this little regulator we've got to install first to provide enough power. So the ground's going to go to the ground there when we've added the Clean Light. The in wants to snake all the way down to here. So we'll do the in with the red. And again, the kit comes with this wire, so you don't have to find this wire. The only thing you have to find for the kit is a tiny bit of tape to cover up this 5-volt pad here. So the in will tack on to here, like so. Hey, welcome in TikTok guys. I think it's working again. It's been off for a few days. Xbox, just go on retro6.co.uk and then send in services, and you can send in any console there. It gives you all the info. It's this red wire. We can go down through this gap and then down onto this pad here, because you don't want it, these outlines are where the rubbers sit, so you don't want the wire going in the way of that. Yeah, designed this myself, designed all the hardware is designed by me, basically, so it's literally something I'll come up with, invent, design, test it, and then we sell it. So there's nobody really that helps us on the hardware side. So let's pre-tin that leg and then tack this on. And then we want to try and keep this wire in that kind of position there, so it runs between these two green lines. Doesn't matter about going over this hole. This is a bit of plastic that pokes through but doesn't come up. So that's where we want to run it. The only thing might be this line here, the green. On original shells, I think ours are fine if you buy our Game Boy shells. I think there might be a tiny bit of plastic here that will press on this wire. So if you're using this thick wire, you might need to just either slightly cut the bit of plastic there, or what I'd do if I wasn't using the wire in the kit is use thin enamel wire, so that this would just sit flat on the board and you wouldn't have a problem anyway. So that's the only thing to bear in mind on that, is that this red wire crossing over this might touch on plastic. I'm not sure, because we pretty much always use our shells, not the originals. They're almost always upgrading the shells. Can we fix anything? We probably could, but we stick to retro consoles for the most part. We're too busy to take on all the other random stuff now. So the out now will go to where the 5V was on this board. So the only other thing with that red wire as well is we probably should just rest. I think we'll rest this clean light in. Well, we probably could have just done the clean light first, thinking about it. Because you really want that red wire under the board. So I think when we come to do the second one and make the guide from it, we'll probably solder the clean light in first. So I've slid that under the wires now. But I think we'll solder this down the first time and then do these wires second, because it kind of doesn't make much sense, because the black's got to go on the ground pad and wait for this to go down, and the yellow's got to solder to the actual 5V here. So we really need this board down to do much anyway. So we'll cut that one there. Do the same for this. We'll strip the wire back here. Thanks, Nick. I'm glad you're liking them. We've had quite a few people mention the liking the streams at the minute. This is live. Nice Doom chair, thanks. Or as everybody keeps telling me, the Mood chair, because it's backwards. Yeah, this is a Game Boy Advanced, so if you look at it from further away, it's basically one of these. This is a modded one, but Game Boy Advanced. And then what we're doing here, these buttons light up all these buttons. So when we're done, you'll see this lit up. So before, when I first installed it, I didn't pre-tin these pads underneath, and some of them weren't soldered. So really, we should pre-tin the pads underneath, or make sure you use flux. But the recommended way is to pre-tin these pads. So we want to, you can either move them out of the way and find out where they are, and then do so many in a row, or you can follow this video once I've done it in the guide, and it'll highlight these pads, the ones we need to solder to. So let's move that out of the way a minute. I'm going to use flux on the pads we need to tin. So it will be TP9 there, TP5 there for left. And it doesn't matter if you get solder on, the ones that you're not using. It doesn't really harm anything. You just don't really want to get solder on the actual, the original button pads, because that'll make this sit higher than it needs to be. So that down is going to be TP7. And then these three will be right here. It's going to be this one, and this one. So you can see then when you line it back up, you can see the blobs of solder already through the holes ready. So down's got it, we need the select one here. Left is done, LT's done. So really it's just the select one this side. And then the ground is, obviously we don't need to pre-tin that, it's already quite a big pad. And then over here it's just these three that are all in a row here. So now we know the first step when we come to do the second one, and that'll be the one used for the guide, is pre-tin these three pads. Pre-tin the pads that you'd see here. So we have the three around here by the black tape, TP7, TP5, and TP9 is that? Yep. So you pre-tin them, make sure that's taped over, and then you put this board down. So we'll zoom out a little bit so you can see a bit more now. place this board in place, and all we want to do is solder these down. So we will start with probably maybe the down. It seems like a nice central one, so we'll line it up so that the pad on the down is showing. Put some flux on, and we'll clean this off after. And while it's lined up, you can kind of glance that these are lined up as well, further up, so you know you're mostly in position. Blob solder on. I need some more solder on my iron. There we go, so that one's in. And now before we do these, even though they're lined up, go all the way over to the other side and line these up first, so that obviously the board's fixed in place and we know everything's lined up well. So flux on there, push down with tweezers and solder them. So you'll just be able to move your iron over all three. And then that should now solder nice and easily. I did this the first time, and we didn't use flux on some of them, and I didn't pre-tin the pads underneath, and it caused us headaches because half of the solder wasn't good. So as long as you put the flux down on each pad and pre-tin underneath, except this ground pad, then you shouldn't have any problems. Now that one's down, we can attach that ground wire. While we're over here by the 5 volt, we will tin the 5 volt, but don't put the heat on too long on the 5 volt because you don't want to melt the tape that's underneath. And then solder the yellow wire to the 5 volt, like so. And then we just have to solder the remaining ones. So we've got these 3 here, LT up here, and left here. So I'll start with left, and then I'm pushing down when I solder. So solder on the iron, get the tweezers, push down, and you can give it a second or two. You're not going to burn the board with a second or two, and it lets the solder make sure it's definitely molten. There we go, just added extra flux to that one. It was a bit dry. And then these 3, same again. Solder on, make sure you get tweezers, push down. And that should be good. And then let's just clean the board now. So one thing I discovered with the flux I'm using is, I forgot all about it, but if you put a UV light on, it lights up, so we can see everywhere we need to clean on the board. So everywhere I've used flux now lights up with the UV torch, so we can quite easily clean up and make sure we've got rid of all the flux. And there you go, so you can see that bit's clean. We've got a bit down here by the ground. And then the white is just lighting up naturally blue because it's just UV reactive. But that's all of the flux cleaned off, so it's not really glowing blue anywhere now. And you can see it'll be on the sponge instead. So we've wiped all the flux off onto the sponge. So that should be it. We've got the input down here, the ground on here, the 5 volt in with tape under, and then all of the pads you see just soldered. Move this red back to sitting between these 2 points here because the rubber sits here, so you don't want basically the red wire to interfere with the rubbers, so you want it to sit in between there. And that can now be built. Just be careful when you are cleaning the board as well, because one thing I did, whether it's just because I was quite aggressive with the first one, I knocked this LED off. I was actually trying to press a button in here with tweezers to test something, and I scraped that off, but Try not to rub too aggressively on these when you're cleaning the board, the actual LEDs, because you might, you know, I've ripped one off, but I was using tweezers. So just bear that in mind when you're cleaning the board. Try to be delicate around them LEDs. Oh yeah, don't forget select as well. That's it. Right, so I'll pass this one over, get built, and I'll do another one. And now what we'll try and do is redo what we've just done here, but in the order that we're going to expect to do it for the guide. And I'm going to take some photos for the wiki and make this an actual install guide as we're going. So I think the first one is tape over the 5V, pre-tin all them pads, place the clean light down and solder, and then we'll do this one last. So that's the steps we'll go through next. So let's just clean the desk because we're going to be doing photos on this one as well. So I want the desk to be nice and clean. Yeah, you'll see the final product today. You'll see these built up and tested, and I'll show you how they work as well. I'll do the same LEDs for the Game Gear and Game Boy Color next, because I've already made the clean light for them, but the old one, so all I've got to do is drop the new hardware on the PCB shape. So I'll do them fairly soon, and then I'll make them for all the other consoles as well after. Right, so we now have another Game Boy, basically exactly the same now, but we're going to try and do this, like I say, for an install guide. So we've practiced on that one and we know the process and what works best. The first thing we'll do is cover the 5V, so we'll need a photo of this and then with the tape over. So I'm going to do a quick photo of that. So that's that one, and then now we can tape over it. It doesn't need to be very big, pretty much as small as you can cut the tape. I'll go over the resistor slightly. And like that. So it doesn't have to be nice and square as long as it covers the circle. And the key thing is we don't want to cover TP3, TP4 and TP6. So those three. So I'll circle them. I'll take the photo like that, and then I'll circle the important 3 points to show that, you know, don't go over that. So next up now we just need to tin those specific pads. So it was, if I remember from what we've only just done, we'll have TP3, TP2, TP4 and TP6, I believe. Now we don't want to do the wrong ones, otherwise the photo's not going to be clean. We want to make sure we do definitely get the right ones, so instead of guessing, yeah, we got that one right. Where is it? Yeah, so we've done that one right. So there's one right there. So it's actually the one above there, which will be TP4 by the reset letter, and TP6. Yeah, so we got it right, but yeah, we want to try and keep this nice and clean so that the photo's accurate. So we've got this one and this one. Yeah, that was it. There we go, so that's them. TP2 we've done. Then there was TP7 and TP5, I think it was. Yep, so TP7, TP5, and TP9. So TP7, TP5. Ooh, nearly had solder somewhere we didn't want to do that. And TP9. So that's that side. The other side's very obvious. It's the 3 that you can't really go wrong with. 3 in a group, just above the writing. So that's them. Afternoon. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. On the overlay, I could actually write on the TP names. We've got the button names, but yeah, maybe TPO, TP1, TP8 as well. Won't quite look as clean on the ribbon, but it's more useful. Up is not on. Oh no, we did the wrong one. And we can't untin that part as such. I'm going to Photoshop that. So on the photo, I'll make that gold again. So desolder. We'll make that flat, but I'll Photoshop that back to gold. Yeah, because we're not going to get that gold. But I can do it in Photoshop, so not too worried about that one. Would have been nice to not have to do that, but easy one. Right, so that's now the pins. So I just need to do a photo of it. So if we zoom in, still a little bit yellow as well. Oop, move the tape off now with the flux, maybe tin. That's either way around we'll do it. We'll pre-tin the pads, clean the board, put the sticky tape on after. Otherwise, the sticky tape gets wiped off with IPA. So we'll flip that around on the guide. We'll do the pre-tinning first, and then the sticky tape second. So actually, I'll take the photo now with the pads pre-tinned. So that's them pads pre-tinned and photographed. So we'll put the tape back down and then photograph it again with the tape on. And it also makes a bit more sense because now you can see where not to cover with the tape as well. So that's the way we'll do it. Yeah, a few people spotted the TP6 was wrong after, but we're gonna, all I'll do is Photoshop that pad back to gold on the photo. Hey, thanks for the sub. Glad you're liking the stream. So we'll cover him back up and do a photo of that now, because that's the way around we'll be doing it. That's it. And yeah, we don't need another photo of anything else there. Can you tell me why circuits have a ground? I get positive, negative, but ground confused. Ground is just a reference point. It's just a name for a place of reference to where power is going to come from. So typically ground is what you class as the negative part of a circuit in a way, but it's just a central point where all your potential comes from. So if you're going to power a circuit from, say, a battery, then the negative of the battery will become your ground. You decide that that's where you're going to wire things from. If you wired things backwards and the positive was ground, which it can be, then all you'd have is ground here and a negative 1.2 volts here. So that's how you get a negative rail. But ground is just something you decide, and it's typically where power can flow from a battery source or a power source. So you've got a potential difference between the ground point and the positive. If you want dual power or dual rails, put two batteries together like this. If we decide that the middle pin here is ground, you can see it quite easy with a multimeter. So this is the simplest way for people to think about negative and positive rails as well. Say we get a multimeter on, we got a battery. So the obvious thing is one battery. You can say this is going to be your ground in the circuit, the negative. So you measure with a multimeter, you black probe on the ground of the battery and the positive on the positive of the battery. And maybe I need to zoom this out a bit. So we measure battery like this. You've got 1.3 volts potential over the battery. And if we decided in a circuit this is ground, we're just saying that's what it is. You'd measure from ground, so that's when you're saying what's the voltage in your circuit, the reference point is ground, or you'd say it's reference to. So typically you'd say the ground becomes the black probe on when you're measuring circuits, when you're probing with oscilloscopes, and wherever else you touch is then you've got 1.3. If you just turn the battery around in your circuit, you decide that the positive is going to be your ground, which it can be. You probe on there, and this would just be another point in the circuit, the negative of the battery. And you could say then the negative of the battery has negative 1.3 volts. So that's why you then get a negative. So say you have two batteries and you want a negative and a positive rail. Just put two batteries together, class the middle pin as your reference voltage. So if you then probe from the middle to the positive, you've got a 1.3 volt rail on this side of the battery, keeping the ground in the center of the two batteries. And you go the other way, you've got a potential of, I can actually get on there, you've got a potential of negative 1.15 in this case, because the battery is different charge. And you could also then have a reference in that circuit, say, between the negative rail and the positive rail, and ignoring the ground, and you've got a different potential there of either 2.4 or negative 2.4, whichever way you decide your potential point comes from. So ground is just really a point that you decide if you're going to measure your circuit and design things and connect things to a ground point. It's just the common reference point, which is usually just the ground of your power. There's nothing special about it. So we've done the pre-tinning of the pads, we've stuck that over. So now all we'd have to do, and I don't really need a photo of the process of this, I'll just solder all these down. And then once we've soldered them down, I'll do a photo. I'll just explain. Well, actually, I'll do a photo of this overlay, or to be honest, the stream's that clean. I almost want to just like screenshot the stream at some points, because the camera's that good. I might use the stream as a screenshot point, but then I'd have to make notes of like what time points these are in. So yeah, I'll still do a conventional photo for now, but I might screenshot the stream for the actual photos. So let's line that up and get a photo of, all I really need is a photo of probably showing a few pins, because it's kind of obvious what we're saying. You just want to line these pins up. So I'll show the up, start and right. on a photo showing that we've lined them up here. And then we'll now put flux on, and it's important to not skip this step. I did this being overly confident because, you know, I can solder and this is ridiculously easy for me, so I skipped steps. I didn't put flux down, I didn't pre-tin the pads, and then quite frankly I just look like a bit of an idiot on stream because I always say how easy the Game Boys are, and it took me 2 hours to install this on stream. So don't skip steps just because you think you can solder and you think you know what you're doing. Find a way that works good. Follow it religiously, regardless of your skill level. So once you've installed a few of these, we find the best way of doing things, and then stick to that. So that's soldered down nicely. Go over to this side then. Align them up. So I might actually do a quick photo of that side because that's probably a fairly common thing. Actually, we're gonna recommend to solder to the down first. Then we're going to recommend to line this up over here. If I could get the lighting good for this, this is... There we go, that's good enough. I'll even show, for the sake of it, some flux covering the pads. Like that, and now we can solder the rest on. We don't need any more photos. Yeah, tip I can probably clean. Got a nice little electronic cleaner. There we go, nice and clean now. And then actually I could do with a photo of this, but I can't really do a photo with one hand. So what I'm going to do is I will screenshot this bit of the stream. I will push down with the tweezers, show the tweezers being pushed down like this, and I'll screenshot this bit here so that you can, again, the step of pushing down is important on these pads. That's all on good. And we'll probably fill that arty with a tiny bit more solder just for making it look neater. There we go. And then we can finish up the other pads now. So just flux on all of them. And solder these down. All them, and then clean off all this flux. Thanks, Jake. Glad you're liking it. And we've got a sub as well from Robert. Thanks for that. I think that's now all soldered on. We've got the ground here, actually. We need to solder. And then I'll photograph now all the soldered points, so we have a reference as well visually for where we should be at. So I'll circle all the soldered points. I'll do the ground because that's one I could have easily missed then. And I'll do those three. Right, so I think we're soldered in. So now it's the power board. So we'll take this power board and we'll stick him on the CPU. Just going to go in the corner like that. And again, another photo for the install guide. This one we will pre-tin those legs, or those pins rather. Now the kit comes with the wire, so we're going to strip the ends. They're already stripped, but they're a bit too long, so the ends are quite long. So the first thing we'll do is snip them shorter. I'll show one snipped and one not. So I can like do a photo of this, so like a stripped wire, and again probably gonna have to clean that bit of the desk if we want to do it for a photo. Promo codes, no, but one thing I did think of is when I'm running the streams, potentially put like a promo code that's only active during the stream. So I might start doing that in future. Is like as we start the streams, just run a discount code. So if you join in, you can see a discount code and use it there and then. Right, so now I can do this as the photo. So I can either again screenshot the stream there, or I'll also, just for now until I've done this in case we end up having issues doing that, I'll take a photo. But the stream camera is so much better than the phone camera. So it'd be nice to think that if I can start screenshotting these, I can do an install guide by just doing a stream on it and then playing back the stream and capturing the moments. That'd be quite good. Saves all the separate photographing as well. So we strip the other 3 wires. We'll do the ground first. So we have the ground one to do here. Subs can definitely get a discount. I will. What I'm going to do, I don't know how to do it really. I want to link in with Discord like a sub only channel, but it needs to link in with the subs so we don't have to manually figure everything out all the time. But if you message me, any way you want to message me, email, Discord, somewhere, just mention you're a sub in your name and a discount code and I'll get you one, basically. But yeah, it's not a bad idea having like subs can get discounts to the store. That's a pretty good idea. Evening, welcome in. We're just doing a Game Boy Advanced clean light, so lighting up the buttons on a Game Boy Advanced, and we're kind of making this as the install guide, if you will, as we're going. So I'm just doing a set of photos as we install this, as the recommended way to install this kit. So that can either sit like that or like that. It doesn't really matter. Nice. Yeah, I'll have a look at some bots later. It's a really good idea as well, because then we've got a subscriber-only Discord channel where we can talk about what we're going to do on the live streams as well, because there'll be subscriber-only live streams, and we need to really have a conversation before we do them of what people want to see and schedule them in and stuff. So that'll work really good. Now, so let's do a photo of that wire on. I don't like the quality of the phone camera anymore now I've seen the stream. It just makes the phone look so poor quality compared to this. It's like it's just gone back 10 years. So I'm still going to line this up for a photo as well, like that, and leave that there for a moment. And then I'll just have to play back the stream to find the moments to screen capture. But I'm probably going to use all of the footage off the stream, to be honest. It's so much higher quality. Right, so we've got the ground on. The in needs to go down to here. So we'll do the out first because it goes to this 5-volt pad at the top. So lob on there, lob on there, and then once we know, well, I'll say once we know, once this kit's sold out, this circuit's going to be integrated into the clean light. You won't have to do this once the batch, the first batch is gone. This was just because we didn't notice the issue with the power draw of maxed out consoles until we'd already produced these. So the only reason you have to do this is for the very first batch, and it'll only be Game Boy Advanced. So I'll update the guide once the new version comes out, once we sell out of this, but it'll be a while. We just made 1,000 of these, so it's going to be quite a while till we sell out to the first version. And again, when you're soldering on that 5-volt pad, don't apply the heat for too long. You don't want to melt through the tape we've put underneath. There we go. So again, yeah, it looks so nice on this camera. Let's get my crap phone out and do a photo that's nowhere near as nice looking. And we've got one wire left, which is the input down here. What do I think of iFixit? I thought they sold screwdrivers until fairly recently, when people have been telling me they're trying to fix stuff. Don't really know much about them, really. Do we repair Game Boy cartridges? Yes, we do. If you go to retro6.co.uk, send in services, and then if you scroll down that page, you'll find like Game Boy Advance cartridge, Game Boy Original cartridge, and you can basically have battery swaps and game backups and everything there. Michael, this is a GBA board that we're modding with lights. This is an original, well, not an original, it's a Game Boy Advance. It's been modded already with a screen, UV printed shell by us. Obviously what we're doing in this one is fitting lights under all the buttons, so when we've finished, not this specific shell, but when it gets put in a shell, all these buttons will light up and can be controlled. CPU for only RGB controller. Yeah, so the Raspberry Pi Pico, this is just, it's not really a CPU, it's an MCU. This is the Pico. It's just because these are 90p to buy in bulk, and any other MCU is more than that typically. So for the simple fact that the price of this is so cheap, and we've got so much power, this has got expandability, but it's mainly the simple fact that this is so cheap. It also runs ridiculously low power. So if we run this Raspberry Pi Pico, pulsing all these LEDs at max brightness, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 LEDs, maxed out brightness. This pulls 100, well, I think 90 odd milliamps. So next to nothing basically on power. So it's low power, it's cheap, and it's very powerful. So this is pretty much my go-to for any MCU work. First console or computer I had as a kid that I can remember is the Atari STE, I believe it was, with Chucky Egg on, loading off like a tape drive. So I have this red wire. The only thing with this red wire now is we want to run between these pads here, basically. So we want to go this little line here. We want to run the red wire between it, because the rubber sits over here and the start and select rubber sits on this curve. So basically where you see this little joining valley, we want the red wire to run between there. So we'll just put a finger on, bend it down, and then we want to cut that wire in line with this here. And then we'll move it back up and cut or pre-strip a little bit at the end of this. Just a tiny bit is enough. It seems as a direct method nice, so I'll definitely get that implemented, because we're getting quite a few subs now, which is quite amazing. I didn't think it was going to work so well, but yeah, we've got if people want to see this and be taught more how to do stuff like this, or learn more about the trade and the skill, and have subscriber-only streams, that's what we're going to be doing. So we've got a sub goal at the top. We'll start the sub-only streams before that gets to 100, but yeah, that's kind of part of what we're doing. We're making like a little community where you just join, and we're going to have like private Discord channels where we can talk about what we're going to do on stream for either the upcoming streams or the sub-only streams. If you want to get taught how to do certain things, we can do that on the streams as well. So if you're wondering why we're trying to get Discord integrated, that's what we're on about, basically. Do you have an option for reboard Game Boy games if the chips are good? We do for Pokemon Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire. I've actually remade the most accurate reproduction of the Pokemon Emerald PCB. So we offer that for that one. The rest aren't that pricey that we typically just use a donor game that's cheap if we needed to do that. So it's something we can do. This, I don't know whether I can zoom out to get. Yes, there we go. So again, I'm just going to stop taking photos. I'm going to use this stream as the screenshot. So I'm going to screenshot those 3 wires in place there like that. Let me just check focus has pulled perfect. There we go. That's just so clear. So that'll be the screenshot for the guide for that. I could then do, I don't think I can zoom out enough to see the whole thing. Oh, I can. Look at that. So I can then do an overall capture. Let's pull focus again. There we go. So that will be the finished screenshot of where everything is. And then I guess we might as well zoom in and get some nice shots at the end. So I can just go to this part of the video pretty much and get most of the screenshots. So we've got the Alti there, the left there, central part there, the select, as well as like this if we wanted to see close up. That there. I think you don't appreciate how clear this camera is until you're looking at the stream, and then you compare it to your phone that you used to think was a sharp image. Yeah, so that's all on. But you want to see something cool as well. I spent yesterday improving the stuff on the stream. So one thing we had was whenever I want to do fine soldering like this, I do this sometimes and get the big head in the way. Sometimes I need to see what I'm doing. Oh, we got a new subscriber. Thanks for joining the YouTube. That's much appreciated. So what I've done is we have a microscope here. This is what I used to use until I was streaming. And now because I stream, I don't really use it because you just watching me do this on stream and work away isn't exactly that entertaining. So if I want to now use this, I can move this around. I can plug in. I don't leave it plugged in all the time just because I don't use it all the time. But if I just plug that in there, I can then get the board in focus. So let's say I wanted to check out the CPU pins for whatever reason, or this little Pico power board, which now looks really dirty under the scope. I can then say, right, if you guys want to see what I'm doing, if I pull up the right one, I think it's this one. I might have to deactivate and activate that because I've not had it on during stream. There we go, and look at that. So now what you're seeing there is, this is the actual microscope. So if I move the microscope around with my hand, you can see we're sliding in and out. But now I can zoom in and out with the microscope, and this is me actually working away, say. So I'm looking under the scope. So I'll normally be, say, working away like this. I'll go across and I'll say, oh, let's check out the select. And I presume that's roughly in focus for you, and it is. And then I can look up, make sure yours is perfectly in focus, like that, say, and then carry on working. So now I could, say I wanted to solder this under the scope, I can get nice and close. The other crazy thing is, look how zoomed in we can get. And then I can pull focus. Perfect on that. So there you go. You can actually see inside that little LED. So what we have here is that little dot there will be one of the LEDs. This will be that little black dot there with the little bond wires coming off, these little lines. This black thing is a baby microcontroller, a very, very simple one that allows us to change the colors. You've got an LED here an LED here and an LED here, I believe. One will be a white, red, green, and blue. And I don't think this has got a white. So we've got a red, green, and blue LED there and a controller there. But for reference of how big that is, there's my fingernail. And if I zoom out, you can see that's how zoomed in we can now get. So if we ever wanted to check pins, say, and I wanted to look under the scope to see if the CPU was soldered, which is normally what I do when you can't see, I can now pull the scope out, zoom right in, get the focus, and we can look at the pins together under a real microscope. So I can now look under here and see with my eyes, but you can see exactly what I see at crazy zoom levels. So that's just another thing I've added. So that, again, just nicer for the stream. So when you guys are getting involved and watching, you have something nice to watch instead of just seeing my head, basically. I am answering questions, yeah. I get quite a few comments kicking in, so if I don't answer you straight away, I normally take a pause every now and then to whiz through comments. So that's the work done. So now I'm just going to be demoing the product anyway, so feel free to ask away, and I'll bring in the console that Zach's just finished for me off stream while I did this. So that's basically had the same install done. So I'll move that to one side. We can bring in this. So if you buy a console off us, this is what you get. This is our custom-made boxes, handmade in the UK. This is for the GBA. We've got different cases for different products. We've got the website, support, Discord, and you get the nice slow full box. And then in here we have a matte black GBA. We're actually making, so see all these buttons are currently clear because you need clear buttons or clear rubbers to see the LEDs. We're having black ones made, clear black, so that these can also go black when we have a blackout console. So I don't want to, well, I can handle this and we'll clean it off again, but this is a customer's that we've just done. So if we turn this on now, you can see there's some LEDs preset. So I think Zach set it to the pink setting, and this is the clean light product. So this is what we're going to go through. I will do again. Hey, welcome in. Not doing too bad. We've just wrapped up. So we have now this Game Boy with the clean light RGB. I'm just going to keep posing the stuff for screenshots because this is going to be part of the install guide. So I'm kind of, you know, if I look like I'm doing something daft like just holding stuff, then it's because I want to screenshot things in the stream for the guide. So if we go over the top, I don't know whether this is going to be too zoomed in. We might want to, yeah, just about fits in. So the only thing is, if that will just about fit in the horizontal layout. But if we get any chat like this and any of the fade at the top where the notifications come, this will be too zoomed in to do a screenshot. So we might do this view instead, and potentially let's maybe zoom in on this view and get somewhere that looks good. I think that looks good. So yeah, that's good for screenshotting. So I can use the horizontal layout now for the screenshot of the guides. So I'll pause just there. I could also just hide the overlays as I need to do screenshots. So I could just literally go to the overlays. Overlays again. Yeah, showing the overlays resets everything and all the chat has to reload in. So maybe I won't show and hide the overlays. I could get a stand, but I kind of like the handheld. Oh, it is handheld. Right, so anyway, what we want to do with this is, did I lose sound as well when I hid the overlays? That's weird. Yeah, so I best not toggle that. Oh, where are we? There we go. We'll move it over for the vertical. I'm always moving that vertical over because I always think the center point of where I work, which is here, I suppose it's different per camera. Yeah, so that's the center line for me, the tip of my fingers. But on the vertical, that's quite far over to the right, the left. So I need to move the floating cam. I must do this nearly every stream. I'll move that slightly over that way and lock it in. There we go. So now, yeah, good job. The hands are clean. I've just been house bashing this morning, ripping radiators out. So luckily, I've cleaned my fingers quite well, but you'd normally see black radiator crap all on this. So the simple use case of this, I'll go through it nice and quick and simple so you guys understand what it is, and then we can take a time after that to show you. So you just hold start and select to get into the menu. When you do that, the select pulses, so you see that pulsing. Left and right changes the colours. So you can see you go through some nice colours. And there's some really nice colours on here. They're showing off quite well on camera as well at the minute. The other day they weren't showing very good. I think because we've got a matte black shell in frame, they're kind of showing up nice. That's a nice one. So yeah, look at that. That's a pause and photo-worthy screenshot for the guide there. And that's the green. This is also very expandable. That's like fire. That's wicked. That's literally orange fire. There's a red, but that actually isn't as red as it looks on camera. It's a very unique orange colour, but on camera that's coming off red. That's deep orange, but looks a bit reddy. That's getting redder, and that's pure red. So you've got a load of even like the red shades that on the camera mostly look the same. Like all these look kind of the same, but they are quite different. Then we have the rainbow, and this is fully customizable. So even though you have a rainbow here, that's white. These are all set profiles. So that's simple. Left and right to select your profile. Up and down for brightness. So this has already got low battery bad looks of it, but if you hold down, you'll lower the brightness until it's off, and you can save that and just make it stealth. Or you can hold up and go up and up and up until max brightness. And obviously, I'll bring it down because it actually records a bit better on camera, quite dull. So there's that. To save, you hold the select, and then the button will stop flashing. So now if we turn off and on, you can see that's all saved. Power draw off is basically nothing. Like, it's as if it's not even running. It's that low. Fully maxed out brightness is 90 milliamps at 5 volts. So the 5 volt output is 90 milliamps. 5 times 0.09 or 5 times 0.1, however you want to work that out for wattage. But yeah, basically the console pulls 73 milliamps. So at absolute max brightness, which you honestly don't need, it's very bright. It's like doubling the power draw of the console if you didn't have other mods. But if you have, say, a clean screen or any other IPS screen, the IPS screen is drawing more than the LEDs are on max brightness. So I'd run these that's a good level for me, and that's almost completely turned off. So you're not going to notice massive power draw. You think you might, but you're not. And obviously you can turn them off. Say you get low battery warning, you could come into here and just turn them off and then carry on playing for a bit longer. There's a few other features as well, so this is a cool one. If you tap Alt, well, you've got to be in the menu, so that's got to be pulsing. Tap Alt, and now every button you press has this reactive mode. So you can see, come out the menu now, and this is just a cool feature. If you tap the buttons, so you see how that's changing colour, and it's a complementary colour. So every button does it, even the triggers. So if you tap the triggers, you've got like I call it reactive mode. So I'm sure every other LED maker is going to start copying that mode soon, as they do. But I just thought it's cool. You're playing away, tapping away. Imagine if you say on a stream playing a game, and that's just a bit of interaction. The good thing with this is if you hold both and change colour modes, you don't have to re-enable the reactive mode or do anything different. But every colour mode has different LEDs. So it's based on a bit of math that I did that makes it. So there's a perfect example. The green is turning like a cyan. The red's turning a yellow. The D-pad, we're going to change modes with D-pad. The button there, blue, turns purple. The red turns like a green. So they're all complementary colours, and that's like a reactive mode. And I've turned it off by pressing the LT. So yeah, if you tap the LT, it turns the mode off. Tap it again, it turns reactive mode on. So I'll do a screenshot of that. I'll do like my finger pressing that, and then I'll do one, remove, let go. There we go. And then the final thing, so we save the best to last. Say that you want to completely customize this and you're not happy with any of them colors. I'll get to all the questions in a minute as well, guys. I'll get through this guide, then we'll go through all the questions because we're pretty much done then. Say you want to completely change the color scheme. While you're in the menu, so after you've held start and select, just hold A until all the buttons start flashing. So there you go. Now all these buttons are slowly pulsing in and out. So see them fading in and out? That means you're in completely custom mode. So every button you now press is going to change color. So this is made a little bit more confusing by the fact that we're in reactive mode. So what I'd probably recommend, so you can see the LEDs as you're pressing them and they're not also changing color, is probably hold A, will get you out of this customization menu and save it. And then these stop flashing. So now you're completely out of the whole menu. Let's just go back into that menu first. Turn off reactive mode. So now reactive mode's off. So we'll then go back holding A into the fully customized mode. I think that just makes it a bit more obvious. Now when we tap the buttons, they're going to change color and not also change while you're pressing them. Otherwise it's a bit confusing. So we can change all these to whatever color we want. Every single button goes to whatever color you want by just tapping it. But what I found then was, all right, what if I want all these buttons red and then I just want to change this side to blue? Well, you don't want to sit here and go, right, I've got to get this one red, got to get this one red, this one red. So instead, you can tap the triggers, obviously, to change color. But if you hold the triggers, it's going to send you to a single solid color. So if I hold Alt again, you're going to cycle all of the color modes. So you can go to, say, the color mode that you like the best, say this one, and now I can just change these two buttons. Or I want to change the start to this. And then, so you can start with a profile basically, and then set up your colors. And you guys can come up with any color schemes you like, basically. And just cycle them that way. And this will go through all of those preset color modes. So let's say we just wanted that. We hold A. When you're in the everything pulsing mode, you just hold A and it'll save the settings and come out. And now obviously if we turn off, turn back on, that mode's remembered. And what you'll find now is if you hold start and select and you want to go back to another color mode, you haven't lost that color mode. So now you've got all your profiles with all your set saved colors. But the last mode that was that rainbow color, that's why I set it to rainbow, is your custom color mode. So if you just keep going, you'll end up back at your little custom color mode. So there's that custom color mode there. So that's like saved in as a profile. The final thing is if you're in the customization menu and you hold B, it will reset everything and wipe the memory. So that then has just wiped everything. The light's gone off, but I recommend you power cycle because what that does is literally wipe the flash memory where it stores settings in case there's any glitch. But if you power cycle now, it should come back on. I think it comes back on, there you go, into the default rainbow mode. So this isn't our custom color now, this is the stock. Say you're just wiping this and selling it as well and you want to just put the LEDs back to where they were. The B resets everything back to stock. So yeah, that's basically the Clean Light RGB in a nutshell. This is fully upgradable. So if you guys ever wanted to flash custom code in future, I'm not necessarily going to open source the code that does this, but I can write you custom code. I can add your custom colors. And you could literally write your own code if you wanted, but this is a library I've written. I'm not using any libraries to control these LEDs. I've literally handwritten this. I'm a software developer by trade, so I've written every single part of this, even in basically what you can call assembly code for the Raspberry Pi Pico. I'm using the assembly level features to drive these LEDs, and then I've written a software library on top of that, basically. So this is all my code, but you can plug a USB into this, and the way I programmed it at the start of the stream is this USB board. So this is just a little board that I'll sell separately for products going forward. You can plug this into that little connector, which we have on here. So that's what this connector's for here. We can plug this in, and you can then connect it to a computer, and it shows up as a Raspberry Pi because that's what it is. And then you can obviously program it with custom code. To top that off, I've also got, this port is active and outputting code to a PC application I've written that I haven't released yet. This wire will then go around to the back to the new Clean Juice. So you know the Clean Juice AA I've made. Let me just grab it a second. So this Clean Juice AA, which is basically a rechargeable USB. You can see in the bottom here, USB rechargeable. This sits in. I'm going to add to the next revision of this. I didn't want to overcomplicate this to start with. I'm going to add a little flex connector on here so that you can use this ribbon, connect a flex to here, and when the console's fully assembled, you can use this USB port not only to charge the console, but you can then connect to some free PC software I've written to control the LEDs. So you can plug it into PC through the cable at the bottom, and then you can type in or use the software I've made to click buttons and set all these color profiles up on a PC if you prefer that than messing with all the buttons. So there's future expansion built into this. And what it'll be is I will add the USB connection to this CleanJuice AA once we're happy with it. And then you can even upgrade it from that. So there's loads that this can do. But if you purchase this now, all of those upgrades are available. Like you can basically, if I release new code, I'll release the physical file you can drag and drop onto this and upload yourself. Or if you wanted custom modes in future, this clean light I don't think is really going to need a revision. I've kind of thought it through quite well, and I don't think this is going to kind of change. This is a pretty clean and working board, to be honest. So that's it for the whole, really what I wanted to do on stream. So let's see if we can, don't know where we can get that resting, and I can go through questions, and then I can just leave that on stream for people joining in. That's quite nice there, isn't it? It's quite a nice little setup. So let me just scroll back through all these chat things. I've had quite a few chat going on. I haven't been ignoring you guys, I just wanted to get that bit done. Do you fix PS5 fan connectors? We can do, yeah, if you just book the PS5 in as the complete basic service, retro6.co.uk, go to send in services, scroll to PS5, just book it in, the default service, and leave a note saying fan connector issue or something, and we can sort that. I had a BBC Master 128K, yeah, I've got one of them myself. I actually fixed a few on TikTok's pre-recorded stuff. Oh yeah, I definitely need to start. Well, not necessarily wearing a mask, but I need to get the. I've got this little fan that used to work great. When to be honest, it does. So this UV light that I use to check if we've cleaned off flux and things. It also has a little fan that actually works surprisingly well. So tapping this, there we go, gives you a fan. So then when you're soldering, let's do, well, I don't want to move that camera, but say I solder, you get that just at the bottom there. And I solder here when this warms up enough to solder. Go on, man. There we go, you can see, if you look at the very bottom of the stream, you can see all that smoke going through. And if I move that out of the way, you can see the smoke goes everywhere instead. So that's just smoke. If I put this near where I'm soldering, this blows it away from my face, which is a lot better than using nothing. I really need to start doing that again, because I had quite a lot, funnily enough, throat issues yesterday on stream. My throat was quite irritated, so yeah, I do need to pay more attention to that. The daughter board is, obviously, if you haven't seen by now, I presume you're meaning the board we've just installed. It basically lets you do this, so the buttons are all lit up now. Boxy pixel cases. Used them years ago. Absolutely terrible fitment, terrible quality. They're still going now, so maybe they're not that bad. But yeah, I used them back in the day when they were really popular and everyone was talking about them, and I don't like them. Don't think they're high quality. They're obviously made of quality material, but I think the fit, and that's one thing we constantly try to do, is these are all our own shells. So I've made all of this. Like everything you see here, I've made the glass, I've made the buttons, I've made the shell, 3D modeled this Game Boy. So this is our shell, our molds. It's not an off-the-shelf AliExpress. Everything you see here is literally made by me. The box is designed by me, made by our factory. The entire shells are my own models and 3D CAD files that we've then made steel mold injections of. This was the very first thing I started with, a Game Boy. And it got known rapidly as the best Game Boy Advance shell going. It was that accurate and that responsive and better than OEM. So one thing we tend to do with a lot of our stuff is we want it to feel really high quality. So we call them the Prestige for that reason. So when I've tried other people's shells, and trust me, we've tried them all, and I'm obviously biased because I make stuff, but nothing. If you get our Game Boy Advanced console and compare it to every other major competitor going, so Funny Plane shells, High Speedo shells, boxy pixel shells, retro modding shells, every other shell, I will absolutely guarantee you a blind test. You will pick our shells every time. That's literally how I started the company, to make sure we made the best things. One of the ironies was this is known as the best screen for the Game Boy Advanced. People don't like me in the Game Boy scene, basically. It's a simple fact. A lot of people do, but a lot of companies don't, because we took all their customers off them, basically. So they don't like us. Some random guy on Reddit posted 2 screens side by side, didn't name the brands, said which is the best screen, showed all the features, like all the colours, all this lot. Every single person went, oh, A's the best, A's the best, A's the best. And then he put A is Retro 6. And then all the comments stopped immediately and the post just disappeared. But yeah, you blind test any of our stuff and I'd like to say we're on top. If we're not, I love listening to criticism and improving, because that's why we do it, basically. But yeah, boxy pixels, last time I used them, no good. Like, I would not use them, but like I say, they're still around, so give them another go. Things always change. DS shells we don't, and I probably never will. There's too many of them and I don't like DSs, basically. Yeah, the video for instructions, it won't be a bad one for video instructions. I'll probably do I might do like a pre-recorded TikTok for the instructions, because people used to love on TikTok all my pre-recorded stuff. So I might do like a little demo video pre-recorded. I think that'd be a nice thing to do. So even though we've got the guide here now, I might take this console or the next one we build and do a little pre-recorded video with all of the bump cut out and a very specific goal of, right, showing you the product. And, you know, the install video can be the photos and this stream, maybe, because I've done 2 on stream. And then the install guide could be a TikTok video. Will I be doing Clean Juice AA for Game Boy Color? Yeah, literally next. So I've got, well, this is working perfect. Basically, I've got this in my own personal Game Boy, and I'm playing Pokemon Emerald on it at the minute. Literally no problems with this at all. First time. Well, I say first time. This is the 3rd iteration of the design, but the first production run, it's working great. So I will make this for Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color, though, we've got the USB inside, so the Game Boy Color one probably won't just be a drop-in, it's going to be a solder fit, because otherwise we'd have to have quite an ugly USB sticking out the battery pack. There's no room to put a USB port like there is on the Game Boy Advanced. But yeah, that's coming up next, basically. Discount codes if you want to use the service. One thing we've just decided on stream is that if you sub to the channel, so sub to Twitch or members on YouTube, I'm going to start running a Discord-only like members only channel, and you're going to get discount codes in there. So all members of YouTube and Twitch subs, I'm going to run a discount that you can use as much as you want and give you, like, say, 10% off the store. And then you get a bit back as well. So we'll get money from sales, and you'll also get discounts on them for supporting us. Yeah, the chair. It's surprising how many people, they'll either say love the Doom chair or love the Mood chair. And even when you look at it with the eyes, I just see the word Doom because it's their logo. But yeah, the Mood chair. The Donkey Kong shell, no, we used to do all stuff like this. But we got sued by, we got sued by Sega. And we got sued by Nintendo. But the Sega one was quite serious. Cost me a lot of money to buy out of the legal battles, if you will. And basically that was for selling things like that. So we had a Sonic shell. That's what we really got done for, selling a Sonic shell on a Game Gear. We also then got sued by Nintendo for having, ironically, this on the screen, Game Boy Advance, but it was a bit more complicated than that. It was more about active trademarks. So unfortunately, everybody else sells stuff like that. So you go anywhere on eBay, on their websites, everybody just sells trademark infringement stuff. We're very, very careful and limited now on what we sell. That's why a lot of our stuff has our 6 logo. It's understandable that everybody wants the original. Like, I want the original. I want to see Game Boy Advance. It's my childhood. But because we got sued, we have to be super careful. We're still risking it in some ways. We sell, obviously, Game Boy Advance with the logo on, and we sell the Game Gear glass separately with Sega on. But they seem to have left us alone now. We've kind of, I think, had our meeting with them, if you will, paid the dues and removed all the major stuff. So we obviously try to honor trademark. And the biggest issue with trademark is if you get sued and you've breached trademark, they can come after you personally. And I have a lot to lose personally. Business-wise, I wouldn't care less. I can always start businesses. I can always make money. But if it's trademark infringement, there's no limits on a limited company that can come after you for personal assets. So you really, really, like, people don't understand that. They're trading on Etsy, selling stuff, thinking they're fine, they can take the house. And if you want an idea of how bad it is, for every single breach of trademark, there's a minimum or typical price of £100,000 per trademark infringement per thing. So if I go and list Donkey Kong on the website now and sell you a console, made a bit of money, I'll list a Yoshi one, I'll list a Pokemon one, I'll list another one, there's £400,000 they can come after me for 4 infringements. So it's not something to take lightly. So what we have on the site that technically is trademark infringement is a Sega glass, so there's 100 grand I'm at risk for. A Game Boy glass, there's 200 grand I'm at risk for. There's not much else we list on there. So yeah, you want to be really careful if you run a business and you're blatantly flaunting trademark. There's this whole thing about the right to restore, and I took legal advice before I did any of this in the first place with the company. And because we're restoring an old console and you can't buy these things off Nintendo, you should have what's called the right to restore. So we should be allowed to reproduce these, and to reproduce them with the logo is key to the restoration of the console. But unfortunately, what I found out from that is it doesn't matter for shit. If Nintendo have got more money than you, it doesn't matter. If they want to come after you and sue you and you could try and defend it, it really does not matter. They're going to drown you in legal fees from the start. So don't think just because I got legal advice and it said you've got right to restore, you're safe. You're not. You're risking it all the time if you're dealing with big players and selling stuff. Extreme rate shells for the Switch. Yes and no. I've used them a few times. They're not that bad. The shells are okay. The buttons are pretty shit, but they're usable. You know, they're not as bad as other things. So extreme rate never really did much. They were like mainly controller shells, and then they actually saw, I'd like to think they saw like our Game Boy shells getting popular, so they tried to do Game Boy shells, they tried to do every other shell when the retro thing like exploded a bit. But the extreme rate shells are shit quality for Game Boys. I think they just tried to take some of our business, basically. The Switch shells are not too bad. PS5 shells are terrible. We've used them. I've got one. In fact, I've got one up here still that I think we reshelled. Is it this one? I think we might have even binned it by now. No, they're originals. Yeah, that's the 2 originals. But we did have them, and we fit it for a customer on the PS5. And if you enjoy your gaming and you're serious about it, they're not good fits. But there are some good extreme rate shells. I think they're which ones is it? The Xbox controllers aren't that bad, for example. So some are good, some are bad. Yeah. I've personally started preferring the Retro 6 logo. Obviously, it's my logo as well, but I think we're building more of a community and a desire for our logo. So people actually want to show off our logo now. When you first introduce it to everybody, it's like, oh no, I want Game Boy. But we have some people now that want us to put our logo on things, which is nice. That's the whole point. We want to build that quality and that symbol, but that takes time, basically. Hey, Jambo, thanks for the comment. Just come across your stuff and interested. Oh yeah, you definitely want to grab one of these. You won't not like them. Some of the old games are really cool. These take all the old cartridges. So we have, say for example, like Pokemon Blue. This is a corrupt version I use for testing, so the save doesn't work. And there's some graphic sprite issues. But yeah, they load all original games. And if you really want to, you can get cartridges with the games on them if you don't want to buy them. But yeah, I'd recommend buying the original games, unless they're expensive ones. Some of them, like the Final Fantasies and Pokemon Emeralds and things like that, are hundreds of pounds. But just think of it as like treating it like you're buying yourself something nice. Once you get into it, I think you'll enjoy it. My favourite ones are Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Trading Card. To be honest, the Game Boys, that's mostly what I played. I played just Pokemons. I can't think of many other Game Boy games I played. Tetris was short-lived, I enjoy it, but not so much now. What else do I play on Game Boy? It's a good thing because, like I say, I don't really. Game Boy was my Pokemon era. I've literally got 3 Game Boys now in the living room. I've got a Game Boy Light that somebody built for me. I just saw him in our Discord building them, thought they looked cool, and brought one. So it's a backlit Game Boy Pocket, basically. I play the Pokemon trading card on that one. I just built myself a Game Boy Color in clear red, and I'm trying to do something unique with it yet that I haven't managed to do. And then I've got a Game Boy Advance that you saw on streams, the bright green one, that I've just installed this USB pack into to test. And I play Pokemon Emerald at the minute on that one. And then I've got a ROG Ally X that I'm playing Resident Evil 2, the remake on, with some VR glasses, which I love as well. So I'll literally, at night, I'll sit and bounce between all 3 of them. And literally go from Pokemon trading card game to Pokemon Emerald to Resident Evil. Yeah, you can also do emulation. If people don't want to pay the money, don't bother buying an original. The originals are for people that really want to go back and enjoy what they had as the childhood. Emulators are what they are if you want to play them. You just want to play the games, you're not that bothered about the actual nostalgia side of it, then yeah, save your money, because these are £200 to £300 from us, but we sell them all day long. Like literally, we've sold a bunch of Game Gears and a bunch of Game Boys today. We've sold a couple while we're on stream, but obviously there's much cheaper options. For sourcing consoles, we raid eBay, Jaws, Sendico, something like Mariko, I think, another Japanese site. I've got a few traders I know that have been in the business longer than I have that buy in bulk again from like walk-in stores, trade-ins, house reclaims that just happen to have them. So all over the place, but good places are like literally eBay is a fairly good place because you're typically buying off users that have found them in the loft and are selling them on, basically. Looking at the shell options, kind of email for custom shells. Yeah, you can just drop us an email if you've got questions. We have, obviously, we've got the shells that we've got. We can UV print on them. So this is an example of the UV print. So this Donkey Kong we can print on the glass. We can print on the shell, but all on the front. You can't do the back because the curve, but you can have custom stickers. So we sell a service for custom stickers, a service for custom lenses and shells. But again, if you're not sure of the process, because I'm pretty crap at kind of advertising that side of the business. So people don't even know we print on shells, and you can chuck any image you want on there and print it on any of the consoles. I don't advertise it anywhere, but if you go to retro6.co.uk and then design your own, there's some crap images on there that kind of hint that you can print something. And then if you go in there, it just says download a template. It's so bad I don't really focus on it, and I should, but if you know that we can print on this, just message me and I'll tell you exactly, how to do it or what to do. But you can print anything. You can have your own design printed. You could just have a logo down here. You could have a full design. And the beauty of it is they're out of the public eye, so you can print what you want on them, realistically, because no one's going to see that. You're going to upload a file, it's going to get printed and sent to you, if you know what I'm hinting at there. So if you want a certain design, you might be able to get it if you use the custom print service. So I think that's all the questions up to now. But I will be on, I don't know what day we're on. I'll probably be on at some point tomorrow. I wasn't expecting to be on today, but I'll probably be on at some point tomorrow now. Do you do stickers for cartridges? Yeah, we do again. Retro6.co.uk, design your own. If the stickers aren't in there for certain things, just message me and I'll make you the template. I'll just scan it in, measure it, and release the template. For Crimbo Prezzies as well, we have a build time at the minute. Prestiges are normally 1 to 2 weeks. Sometimes we get flooded, so the last ones took us 3 weeks. We spent days and days just building Prestiges. So I'd say a safe bet if you want it for Christmas is pretty much leave like 4 weeks before Christmas at the minimum to get stuff. It's not like you're ordering, we've got nothing. We've got shelves full of consoles and shelves full of orders, like falling apart with orders. We've got that many. And the lead time at the minute is just over 4 weeks. We keep creeping it down, but it goes back up. Yeah, I mentioned about the discount codes. You might have not heard it. I think I probably answered it after. If you sub to YouTube or members to YouTube, it is, and sub to Twitch, and then join our Discord, discord.gg/retro6. I'm going to start sending subscriber only people discounts that are permanent. So while you're a subscriber, you're going to get like 10% off the store. But I'll roll that every month and change the code. People that sub and then disappear, they can't keep using 10%. It's going to be active subs that get all the benefits. And I might do other things, basically to thank people that sub to the channel. I can start giving away gift vouchers, prototypes, anything we want, really. We're going to try and start like a little sub-only Discord for building a bit more tight-knit community for, true supporters, if you will. So I'm going to jump off now anyway. Nice short stream. I just wanted to show this off. Going to get some tea, and then I'll probably be back on tomorrow. So thanks everyone for joining in. Much appreciated, and thanks for the subs. They're slowly growing, which is nice. And I'll see you all tomorrow. And yeah, Rusty's definitely going to get some treats. I think one of his favourites are duck treats with rose hip and fenugreek. These are one of his favourites. So he comes in here. He had one of these on stream yesterday. He loves all the stinky stuff, the stuff that really smells strong. Venison and duck and fenugreek and all that lot. He loves it. Shall swap on a Steam Deck. Not at the minute. We're too busy. Maybe something in the future.